Hello, my friend. Happy holidays. On today's episode, Mark and I are pulling back the curtain in how we think about positioning business for unicorns. We have a kind of a new tagline that you'll soon be hearing on this podcast and seeing on our website. So we wanted to kind of just share how we're thinking about positioning business for unicorns as a company. I think there's some real lessons in this for all of you about how you think about your avatar for your gym and how you position yourself in your market. So keep on listening, my friends. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to give you a quick reminder that we have a ton of free tools and templates and resources on our website. And there's one in particular that we think is fantastic, which is our template for how and when to raise your rates as a gym owner. You really should be raising your rates for your clients every single year. And we know for some of you, that's kind of hard to do. So we made it really friggin' simple and straightforward. So this includes templated emails. You can just copy and paste and send them to your clients. So if you've never raised your rates before or in a while because you're a little embarrassed or stressed about it, just click the link down in the show notes. Go get this free tool and template. It's free. And it'll help you right away get it done. We're recording this podcast late December, and for many of you, raising your rate sometime in the first quarter of each year is probably a great move. Either January 1st, some of you March or April 1st. I think this is a great habit to get into. You need to raise your rates every year, so go get that free template and do it. Which brings us to today's podcast. Mr. Fisher, how are you? Happy holidays.
I am doing good. I am December. It's so intense. It's
so
last
intense.
December, as avid listeners will know, we are in the process of transitioning out of MFF. But the thing that is very gnarly is like all the end of year stuff for 3 businesses.
Yep.
Not only that, but it's a shorter month, right? And I think we're all trying to take a little bit of downtime towards the end of the month. So feeling great. But we had a great annual offsite with you and me, Ben, and Pete Dupuis at your house up at Pauling Spa. And that was really wonderful and exciting and just completely exhausting. So I still feel like I'm recovering, but I'm really excited.
It's so amazing how 2 days of like sitting around in sweatpants talking about your business for 2 days is so exhausting. Like it's just so beneficial. We always leave feeling stoked and excited about annual planning, but for some reason I also need like a week-long vacation afterwards. It just is a lot of brain power.
Well, it's really funny. I just got the new Aura ring, the Aura Gen 4, which now to really feed my anxiety. So I don't think I'll be able to wear it for too long, but it gives you like stress scores throughout the day. And I had 7 hours of like the high stress thing over those days, like Looney Tunes, where it was like, you're freaking out. But I don't know. I'm just like, as we know, I'm very responsive, but I don't know. I don't know if any of the listeners have the Aura Gen 4, but it's basically if I eat a meal or if I have coffee, or if I take a shower, or if I work out, all of them count as like very stressful things in my body. I'm like,
wow.
Really? Like, maybe I'm just like not self-aware, but like, I don't know. I like a hot shower.
Yeah.
Don't try telling me I stress my hot shower. I like a hot shower.
I think it's also just validation that like life is fucking stressful. Or a ring is just like, I guess so, sorry, bro, life's fucking stressful.
I mean, it is good actually, because I think the thing that I like about it is it does, and this is like maybe a micro takeaway for listeners. So one of my favorite books that not a lot of people have read is The Power of Full Engagement by a guy named Tony Schwartz. And one of the most important things in that book that I think is very important for probably everybody, but particularly business owners who can be quite stressed, is you think about during the day and you have like good high energy time where you're storming the barricades, right? And maybe you have like high energy, like bad energy where you're like mad, you're pissed off and it just didn't go my way. And then you have like low key, low energy, kind of annoyed, surly, eye rolly vibes, right? But what a lot of people don't bake in is the 4th quadrant, which is like calm, low energy. And I will say it has encouraged me to do like multiple times throughout the day, just go and, sit on my bed, turn on a meditation thing, literally just breathe for 6 minutes. So I don't know, maybe I'm going to live longer. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just wasting my time.
Well, listen,
I think that's it. But
I think that's it. I was watching some comedian or something recently, and I won't get the joke right or remember what they said, but the gist of it was really like the crux of it was like, we don't know how to be bored anymore. Like there used to be, you would like sit for some portion of your day, and that was kind of forced, baked in chill time, standing in line, riding a bus, being in a car, and now there's just no downtime. There's no chill, just staring off into the future.
You're
What we
always
now
doing
call
something.
meditating used to just
Yeah.
be existing without a phone.
Yep.
And so I think there's something to that we're just kind of not designed for that. But it's a whole other podcast. We'll circle back to that in a
Yes.
second. But what we want to talk about today is the fact that we are in the process of changing our tagline at Business for Unicorns. And we want to talk a little about what is a new tagline? Why are we changing it? What does it matter to all of you? What's in it for all of you? What takeaways might you have for us changing it? We just want to kind of talk through that with all of you today because we're really excited about it. It represents kind of
Yeah.
a slight new direction or expansion of our audience in some ways. But let me just tell you what our new tagline is. You're going to be hearing it more and more in all of our materials and the podcast. But our new tagline is that we help gym and fitness studio owners build a business and a life you love. I'll say it again, so we're going to be talking about it all episode. We help gym and fitness studio owners build a business and a life you love. And I'll start by saying I'm stoked about this tagline. I think this is really exciting. I think it really is an exciting direction for us, clarity of our purpose, clarity of, who we're serving on this podcast and in all of our services. So Fisher, you want to just kind of give your hot take about how do you feel about this? Why are we even doing it?
Yeah. I mean, why are we doing it? Yeah. It's funny because we asked why did we decide to do this? And I don't know. I can't remember when I was like, this is the new thing, as I am wont to do at times. So I was speaking in business tongues, and I'm not clear. I can't remember the moment where I was like, oh, I think this is it.
Yeah.
I think there's probably two pieces. I think, so first of all, it's interesting because I think that's an interesting conversation. Like, is this a tagline? Is this like a purpose statement? Is this, and
Sure.
I'm sort of agnostic around what we even want to call it, but there was just something that felt clear to me, like, oh, this is the clarion call. And I would note I think there's two things that are represented in this change. I think one piece is that our avatars opened up just a little bit, right? So I think one piece of this is historically we've been talking a lot about gym owners, and that's great because it's a very specific niche, but it's also not reflective of the fact that more and more people are following us from different fitness businesses that might not identify as a gym owner, right? They might identify as a fitness studio. So that's certainly one piece. I think, frankly, the more substantive part is zooming out what we do to clarify that the main thing, the goal, the clarion call, right? We might even be able to advocate, say this is the mission, that we do actually have an internal mission, which we're not going to tell you, podcast listener, but we do have an internal mission that I would say comfortably, it's along these lines, but maybe even bigger, maybe even bolder, but not really like a marketing focused one, more about guiding us spiritually, if you will. But it seemed that while it is true how we achieve this is helping you create more income, more impact, and more freedom, it just felt to me there was an opportunity to really zoom out a little bit more and cut to the quick with even more clarity on precisely what we're doing, which is really like two things: helping you build a business and a life you love, right? And I'll concede too, if we really want to get in the nerdery of like marketing stuff, we had a conversation recently about the spectrum of how specific you are or aren't with benefits. And this, one could argue is maybe a little bit more general in some ways. I think it encapsulates more than just those things. But to me, the thing that felt important to really stick a flag in the ground is, and I know this is true for you too, I think the thing that we are most interested in is both that the business works, but that your life works, right? And
yes,
if we got the business piece right, if we got the business piece and you were creating positive impact, right? And you were making money and you had some measure of freedom. Those are all good things. I think everybody listening probably could want a little bit more of all three of those. But if you just weren't stoked, if you just weren't excited about like the life that you were living, I feel like we didn't really do the job, right? And I think there's maybe two pieces of that. There's maybe helping sure that the direction we're going in is reflective of something that you feel aligned with, that really lights your fire and makes you feel like you're reaching, you're reflecting your potential in a service of something bigger than yourself. So I think that's one piece. Where is the ship headed? I think the other piece is, the sort of cliche Tony Robbins concept of the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment, right? If business is the science of achievement, there's also the art of the fulfillment, right? How are we thinking about our life? What are the models, the frameworks, the habits that we're using to not just create the life that we want, but love the life that we have? So at any rate, I'm clear that I could blah, blah, blah about this, but that's how I think about this. And I'm wondering what you would add, friend.
No, I think that's really useful, and I think I do also think of it kind of there's two things that really drive me to be excited about this, and I think there's also two lessons for our listeners, right?
Mm.
We often talk about this podcast that the foundational kind of mantra of marketing is often like is like when you confuse you lose. Like clarity really matters of who
Yeah.
you serve and how you serve them, and how to get started, right? These are like the things we hit on again and again and again. And I think that us clarifying, oh, no, we don't just serve gym owners anymore. We serve people who think of themselves as studio owners. And we don't just help people with their business. We help people have a great business, yes, and it has to be in the context of also a life that they
Yes.
love, and that those two things have to work symbiotically. And so I think there's a lesson in it for listeners in that if you are not that clear about who you serve and how you serve them, right, I think there's some more work to be done there, both maybe on your marketing and messaging on your website and your social media to kind of keep clarifying that, because if it's confusing, you're missing out. Right. And I'm not saying we're perfect at it. I'm not saying this will be the last time, the final version, right? But that's the thing we're constantly striving for is more and more clarity about this is who we help. This is
Yes.
how we help them. So that's one piece. The second piece is I'll say that, a huge portion of the work we do with our Unicorn Sighting members is about their life.
Yeah.
It's about their life. And so many of them, and I say this with love and empathy, is that some of them, their business works at the expense of their life, right? So
Sure.
they come in
Sure.
into a business coaching group and they're like, yeah, my business is pretty good. I want to keep optimizing. But the only reason it's working is because they have no life. It's because
Right.
they've put it all on the line. They're working 24/7. They're sacrificing it all. They've put so many things, family, other priorities,
Mhm.
their own health on the back burner. And so those things have to go hand in hand because you can do that for a little while. In fact, starting a business, you might need to sacrifice a lot of those things
Yeah.
for a little while.
Yep.
But ultimately, to have a sustainable, long-term, viable business, it needs to
Yes.
work for both your business and your life. And I'll also say that there's so many challenges that we help people with that are really just in the life bucket, right?
Yeah.
That are
Yeah.
really just about
Yeah.
how they spend their time, about like, what they want for themselves, the impact they want to make,
Yes.
sometimes about their
Yes.
relationship with their spouse who they run the gym with, right? And so these are things that, yeah, the business has some impact on, but also these are just aspects of their life, the relationships they
Yes.
build, the communities that they want to be part of. And I
Yep.
just, I want to just for a moment toot our own horn and say, not all business coaching groups will do that for you and with you.
Yes.
Right. And not
Yes.
all, and I'm not dragging anyone in particular under the bus here, but just say like, not all business coaching groups see it as their responsibility to help you with anything besides your business. And I
Yep.
think that's one of the things that we want to put into our tagline or whatever we're going to be calling it is like, we care about both. We think you should care about both. In fact, I would go farther and say, you can't do one without the other. Right?
Yes.
Like they have to,
Yes.
they're they're inseparably
Yeah.
linked, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to say that if there's any lessons in there for all of you, is that you have to really focus on both. You really can't have a business that thrives or a life that thrives without the other as a
Yeah.
business owner. Yeah.
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 It's so interesting because the thing that I talk about a little bit externally facing, but I think a lot about it. It's not like the catchiest marketing term, and it almost sounds not aspirational enough. But I often think about like I want people to have humane businesses. I want businesses that are humane,
Mm,
right? Like, which
yeah.
means that it's sustainable, that you're making a little bit more than you need, hopefully a lot more, but at least more than you need to pay your bills, that you don't have to grind on 60 hours a week all the time. You can take times off. And I think part of that is not just, I think, the mechanics of the achievement of the nuts and bolts, which, by the way, for brick and mortar gyms, like with love, it's not actually that complicated. You have to execute.
Yep.
Sure, there's some luck involved for your market. You have to do some things right. You have to find the right people. But the mechanics of running a gym, right? This is not that complicated of a business vehicle. However, using the Tony Robbins model, the art of fulfillment, that's nuance, right? There's a lot going on there. And I think that's another thing too. It's interesting. You can't, if you have a gym, you can't market, we've got great trainers, right? Because everyone kind of says that. But in practice, like, we've got great coaches, like, and I think that,
Yeah.
again, it's not to say that
Yep.
other approaches are even wrong, but one thing that I think is a unique strength of the crew that we developed and sort of the internal culture we've created, and certainly Kier, you get, all the credit for this, is we are really willing and comfortable to put on the mentor hat, right? And the consultant hat
Yeah.
is frankly my most comfortable hat. We're like, I'm going to tell you to do this. Here's the playbook. We're going to tell you exactly what to do. You go do the thing. That's super valuable. That absolutely has its place. However, when you're talking about the art of fulfillment, these more nuanced mercurial things that are, I think, endlessly interesting and complex and
Mm-hmm.
individuated, whatever that word is,
Yeah,
that
that's it.
requires a different kind of approach to mentorship, which is less about telling you what to do and consulting and having the answer, and more about asking you the questions so that you have a
Yeah,
space to get clear on. And I want to be clear because this almost sounds like we're talking about therapy. And like, we know scope, it's not therapy. This is not,
it's not
we're
therapy.
not
Yeah,
trying to heal traumas. We might discover some that you then choose to do some other kinds of modalities to address. But this is about
yeah,
giving you a space. And this is why, Keto, I know you spend so much time like drilling the coaches on this. And the coaches at Business Unicorns are, every month they have to submit videos to get watched and get feedback. Just drill on not just telling the person what to do, but give them a space where somebody that really gives a shit can ask really good open-ended questions and let them
yeah,
breathe and think and give words to things they haven't had space to acknowledge. Because I think it's that awareness is the first step to understand what you really want, which is necessary before you can have a business and a life that you really love.
yeah, yeah. I think that's really well said. I think that's
I
a
feel
good
like I'm
place
like,
to leave this
I feel like I'm
episode.
soapboxing so hard. I'm sorry, listeners. I'm like, guys, you have to live the life you want.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'm sorry, I'm passionate.
Listen, I
Judge me
think
if you
there's
will.
there's very few. Yeah, there's very few people in our lives who are cheerleading us like that. Right? There's very few people in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
lives who are rooting for us so blatantly to say, "No, we are here to help you." Create a business and a life you
Yes.
love. And if you
Yes.
want more
Yes.
of that, if you want that, come fucking talk to us because we're excited to
Yep.
do this work and we're really good
Yep.
at it. Right? Like,
Yep.
yeah, I'll scream that from the mountaintops. I think we are really good at it. We love doing it, and we have a mountain of evidence. Go to our website that other people are getting something out of it. Right? It works. And so, I think that's why I think, you and I are more and more stoked about finding our purpose in this
Yeah.
way is because it works, and it's exciting work to do. Yeah. Well, let's leave it there because I think we can talk about this topic all day, but you'll be hearing it more and more, my friends, that we help gym and fitness studio owners build a business and a life you love. And if you want more of that, come work with us. Don't forget about all those free resources we have on our website. Click the link down in the show notes. I'll take you over to our website and go get that free Raise Your Rates playbook and make sure you're raising your rates every year. Thanks for a great conversation, Fisher. I'll see you on the next one.
See you soon.